Welcome. So this is where the magic happens. If you watched the last video, I took a couple of frames out of a deep, and I took some frames out of honey super and made up one whole honey super and took one off. Anyway, so now we have to get the honey out, so I just wanted to show you a little bit about how I do that, and to show you it's not a simple thing to get the honey out of the comb. So here is my extractor. I made some legs for it because for whatever reason this one came with short legs, which doesn't work. You'll see why in a little bit. And then if you look inside, you can see this one just has a 2-basket setup, which, knowing what I know now, I might get one with 3. I also would probably get one that was powered, but I'll show you what I did to modify this one. So normally there's a hand crank right here, but I'm going to use a drill to power it just because it's tiring if you do it all by hand. So the honey will go extracted into the main tub here, and when this gets too full, I'll start letting it drain from here through the strainer and into the special honey bucket. Everything's been cleaned with super hot water, so it's all pretty sterile. This is wax cappings from the last extraction I did, which was probably about a month ago. I had them in the strainer and I took them out today because I figured I'd wait to melt down the wax, clean it and melt it until I had done this next extraction. This is some honey that some wax that I cleaned and melted last year, and these are some of the frames that we took out today. And it looks like I tried to rescue a bunch of bees, but I still see there's one in there, so I'll have to help her get out so she doesn't end up in the house. And then there's just the bad frame in there, so I'll take that out, and I'll probably just melt down that wax because it doesn't look like it's in very good shape. So on the next step will be to uncap the frames, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to uncap so these are the wax cappings. There's a couple of different tools. Actually, there's tons of different tools. There's heated ones, electric ones, whatever. This is a blade tool, and this is a comb tool, which I think I usually just prefer this one. So, but I just wanted to show that to you. And you can use this a couple different ways, but honestly, I like to just score the wax, and I'm doing this obviously over a bucket, and later I can save the honey and then the wax cappings, of course. This doesn't really want to. So you can see it's just a matter of, I'm just breaking the cappings. I don't want to waste a lot of the comb, and I find this to be the best way to be able to reuse this drawn comb later, which is very valuable in beekeeping because it saves the bees having to draw out new comb. So there's a little bit of this that didn't have honey in it, but that's fine. Most of the honey that is in here is capped, so that's perfectly acceptable to have a little bit of uncapped mixed in. It's just the amount of moisture that's in the honey. Alright, so that wasn't bad at all. I didn't lose too much. Then this is ready to put into the extractor. Okay, so now what I did was I uncapped the 2 frames from the deep. And this is going to spin and use centrifugal force, so you want 2 frames that are similar in weight if possible, because it's going to spin a lot more evenly and not wobble. And then as you can see too, there's plastic all over everything, probably just to keep everything clean, and just because honey is sticky, and otherwise there's going to be no way to clean up the mess after. So once those are in there, We put the cover on so it doesn't spray out. And then I'm going to get my drill and I'm going to spin it, and I will show you that next. Okay, so we got the super duper drill, which has a lot of power, so you kind of have to be careful because you can lose an arm. But it also, you know, if you can get it to work right, which is why I also, you know, someday on my wish list would be to get a true powered extractor, so I don't have to deal with all that. But anyway, in the meantime, this works. I mean, you can just spin it by hand too, because honestly, you don't want to go too hard because you'll just rip the wax foundation right out of the frames, which I want to reuse these. If you don't care, it's fine, but usually you want to try to reuse the foundation. Alright, that is tight. Alright, so we're just going to ease into it and we're going to spin these, and you can kind of get an idea of what's involved. I'm just going to give it a little power because, as I said, you know, you want to kind of be gentle with it. It's using centrifugal force to just spin the frames, and I've got 2 frames again in here from the deep because it was pretty honey bound and I wanted to give the queen some more room to lay. So I can see the honey like sort of hitting the sides. And again, I'm just going to do this gently because I don't want to damage the foundation, so I can reuse this. And if I go a little bit faster, obviously it'll be quicker. It's a little more out of balance, so I'll slow down a little because you aren't going to be able to see it if the camera and everything is shaking. Show you the progress so far so you can get an idea of how it works. Take this off and I'll spin this around and pick this up. Of course, it's still heavy because the other side has nothing taken out. So you can see there's still a ton of honey in here, but it's starting to come out of the frame. It just takes time and patience. It's sticky. Put that back on. Hands. And we'll just do some more. And then we're going to flip each one of these the other way so it faces out after we're done with the outsides. So you want to spin quickly enough to get the honey out, but sort of stay balanced and be nice and smooth. And just be patient. Now, if you do use plastic foundation, then obviously you don't need to worry about the frames coming apart, but you still have your built out, you know, your drawn comb that you want to save. So these aren't balanced because one had more honey than the other, so I'm just going to have to keep it slow. this is one of the supers, the honey supers, and I'm just going to show you uncapping. So you've got my capping fork here, and you just go like that, and get a lot of the wax capping off, and it's pretty easy on the comb. Go like that. That. Make sure we get all that. So this one is ready for extracting. That looks pretty good. I'll show you when I did the other side already. You can see that. Nice. So this is another frame here. This is with the wax capping on it. You can see we're going to remove that. And we'll strain this later so we won't waste the honey, but I'm not losing too much as I'm taking these off. Okay, I'm going to do this, show you this quickly because I don't want it to drip too much all over the floor. Even though I have plastic down, you can see that that is uncapped and ready for the extractor. So I want to give you a quick peek into what it's like. So I have the cover off here just so you can, just for a couple of seconds so you can see what it's like in the extractor. Okay, so I can show you, see it was a little rough on the frame. I don't know if it's too close, but you can see that most of the honey is gone from that side. I'm going to flip this over, check the other one. I don't know if it's going to focus that close, but you can see that most of the honey is out. I'm going to flip this one over. I want them to be sort of opposite the way they're sitting so that it'll be balanced in there. And I also want to mention, while I'm thinking of it, that I happen to do this right next door to the bathroom where I have a sink. So it comes in handy because I wash my hands a lot during the process to make sure everything's kept clean. Plus it's just so sticky. Spin this again. take a look now. Yep, these barely weigh anything now compared to before. And I don't know if you can see into the bottom, but it's getting pretty full, so I'm going to show you how you start draining it through the strainer. I'm just going to take these 2 frames out, make sure they're done. They're pretty empty. Alright, so I'll take you around to the other side and show you the spot. Okay, so the fat is starting to get full, and you don't want it to be above the baskets because it'll just spin the honey inside and it'll be more of a strain on the motor and or yourself, and it's really not efficient. And there it goes. That is a beautiful thing. So this is a lighter honey than what I had from the fall. This is all honey super honey though, or mostly honey super honey, I shouldn't say all of it, because we did have those deep frames. But it's flowing nicely. Sometimes you get a lot of wax cappings, and that's going to slow it down, because once you start getting a lot of wax in here, you'll have to clear out the screen. This is actually a double screen. You can see this basket inside of another one. There are 2 screens, because we're not going to heat this honey. It's going to be all natural raw honey, and it's just screened to get the wax content out and any bugs. And you can see I don't know if you can see that too well, but there's honey already going into the bottom. So you just got to watch out that this doesn't fill up. You have to kind of pay attention, but there's not too much honey in here right now. I think we'll be fine. So then we're just going to extract a couple more frames. We actually have more in the other room too, so I might take a break right now and do some more a little bit later. Meanwhile, back inside the extractor, I'll show you that the wax, the honey, there's wax on the sides too, but the honey will continue to drip down the sides all night. I'll leave the cover, I'll leave it closed, and I'll leave it all night, because that honey will continue to drip down the sides. Okay, welcome back. It is the next day, and we have extracted the honey from these frames. They're ready to be used again in the hive. And we'll go over here. This is all the cappings from the last time. This is one frame where the wax foundation came out, so I'm just going to melt that down. These are the cappings from this extraction that we just did. So what I did is I put them in a filter bag, and I let the honey drip out of the cappings overnight. I had a cover on this bucket, and that honey I will put in with the other honey, which, if we go back over here, we're going to go to our extractor, and I had it tipped so that it would mostly empty out. There's a little bit left down there. I'll tip it some more before I'm done. And we'll go over here. And this cover, it drips a little even though the lock is closed. There's my double filter. Again, I just like to keep everything clean, so I had saran wrap on it overnight. And here is what I would estimate is about 3 gallons of honey, which looks beautiful. And I'm just going to pour that other honey from the... I'm going to tip this extractor, get the rest of the honey out, then I'll bring it outside and wash it. And I'll put the honey that I had strained through here. I'm going to add that and put my cover on. Then I'll put it into smaller containers to store it until it's time to bottle it. Sometimes I wait to see what the demand is, if it's 1 pound jars or 2 pound jars. But the honey looks beautiful, and I am excited to have some more in a couple of weeks. And thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Till next time.